The barracks were alive with the usual morning chaos, the clang of boots, the murmur of voices, and the sharp orders cutting through the air. Corporal Sarah Mitchell stepped through the gate, her eyes scanning the crowd, a sea of faces young and tough, each carrying the weight of expectation. She was just another recruit to them, a shadow blending into the harsh fluorescent light and the smell of sweat and steel. But beneath her quiet exterior lay a mind sharp as a blade and a secret heavier than any pack she carried. The other recruits barely spared her a glance, their conversations filled with bravado and doubts. They whispered about the new girl, wondering if she would crumble under the pressure. The physical tests were brutal, pushing everyone to their limits, but Sarah moved with a steady grace that belied her strength. Her body obeyed commands without hesitation, her breathing controlled even in the face of exhaustion. She refused to show weakness, not because she was fearless, but because she carried a burden no one knew about in the mess hall. The atmosphere was thick with rivalry and tension. Sarah sat alone, her eyes fixed on the tray in front of her as the others threw sideways glances. Her silence was mistaken for shyness, a mistake they would soon regret. The murmur of disrespectful jokes drifted her way, but she remained unmoved. Her mind was focused on the coming drills, on the missions they might face, and the one secret that, if revealed, could change everything. During the grueling obstacle course, Sarah watched her teammates stumble and falter, her pace relentless. She knew every muscle ache, every strain from experience, not just training, but real battles, fought far from the safe confines of the camp. She moved forward, with determination. But the questions in the air lingered. Who was she really, and why had she been placed here among recruits instead of leading from the front? The answer was buried deep beneath layers of silence and discipline, waiting for the moment to surface. As the sun dipped low, the camp settled into uneasy quiet. Sarah stood apart, watching the horizon, the weight of her past pressing down. Her mind raced through memories of missions, where lives had hung on split-second decisions, where trust was earned and betrayal was deadly. Her heart beat steady, but the question remained. Would they ever see her for who she truly was? Or would the shadows she carried keep her forever an outsider? The night brought restless dreams of conflict, and command of the battles won, and the ones lost of friends made and sacrifices paid in silence. Sarah's resolve hardened. She knew the time would come when hiding was no longer an option, when she would have to step out of the shadows and claim the role she had earned. But until then, she would wait, watch, and prepare for the moment that would change everything. And somewhere deep within the camp, whispers began to stir, questions and doubts, weaving through the ranks, a storm quietly gathering, ready to break and reveal the truth that would shake the very foundation of their world. Would they be ready when the veil lifted and the recruit they had dismissed turned out to be the SEAL commander they never expected? The morning fog hung heavy over the training grounds, cloaking the soldiers in a thick mist that blurred edges and softened sounds. Sarah moved with purpose, her footsteps muffled by the damp earth. Around her, the recruits buzzed with nerves and bravado, their laughter and challenges bouncing off the cold steel of the obstacle course. Yet she remained focused, unshaken by the petty games and whispered doubts that trailed in her wake. The tension in the air was palpable, an invisible thread pulling tighter with every passing moment. The drill sergeant barked orders sharp and relentless, pushing the recruits to their breaking points. Muscles screamed and lungs burned, but Sarah kept pace, her every move calculated and precise. She carried no visible rank, no badges to announce her authority, but her presence commanded attention and respect. Despite the exhaustion, her eyes never lost their steely calm as she guided the hesitant through the worst of the course. Her knowledge was clear, her commands crisp yet never harsh, and the others began to notice a shift in the air around her. Whispers spread like wildfire through the ranks, questioning who she really was. What secrets did she hide beneath that quiet exterior? The rumors grew with each successful maneuver each moment. She helped a struggling recruit find their footing. The others started watching her more closely, analyzing every gesture, every word. Sarah was no ordinary recruit, that much was certain, but the truth remained locked behind a wall of silence, her eyes revealing nothing. Then came the moment that changed everything. The team was thrown into a simulated hostage rescue exercise, a complex mission designed to test their skills, teamwork, and nerves under fire. Chaos erupted around, them gunfire echoes and shouted orders filling the air. Sarah took charge without hesitation, her voice cutting through the noise, directing movements, positioning her teammates with the precision of a seasoned commander. The recruits fell into place, following her lead, trusting her instincts even as the scenario pushed them to their limits as they moved through the simulated combat zone. Sarah's heart pounded with a familiar rhythm, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. Each decision could mean the difference between success and failure. The recruits who had doubted her found themselves relying on her steady guidance, their confidence in her growing even as questions lingered in the back of their minds. What was her story and why had she been hidden among them? The climax of the exercise brought them face to face with the simulated captors, a tense standoff where quick thinking and courage were paramount. Sarah's calm under pressure shone through her eyes, narrowed, calculating the risks and the rewards. Her commands were decisive and unyielding. The team moved as one, a cohesive unit forged in the heat of challenge. The mission was a success, but the truth about their leader was still waiting to be unveiled back at camp. The recruits gathered around Sarah, curiosity finally overpowering caution. One of the younger soldiers dared to ask the question that had haunted them. Who are you really? The silence that followed was thick with tension. Sarah looked around at the faces searching for trust and understanding before slowly revealing her secret. She was not just a recruit, she was their SEAL commander, the very leader they had been training under. Without knowing, shock rippled through the group. Disbelief mingled with awe as the reality sank in. Their assumptions shattered their doubts, transformed into respect and admiration. Sarah's story unfolded her past missions, the sacrifices she had made, and the reasons for her secrecy. Her quiet leadership had been a test, a way to rebuild trust and strength within the team. The recruits now stood united, inspired by the woman who had led them through fire and fear. But the revelation was only the beginning. A new mission loomed on the horizon, one that would demand every ounce of their newfound trust and strength. The soldiers prepared themselves for what lay ahead, the stakes higher than ever, and the enemy more dangerous than they had imagined. Sarah's leadership would be tested in ways none of them could predict as the true battle for survival was about to begin. And as the camp settled into a tense calm, the question lingered in the air. Could they face the challenges to come with the woman they had once dismissed now, standing tall as their SEAL commander, the leader they never saw coming? The dawn broke cold and unforgiving over the rugged training ground where the recruits had gathered. Their faces, a mix of determination and apprehension, lingered beneath the rising sun. The revelation of Sarah's true identity had shaken them, but it also sparked a fire, a fierce loyalty that began to take root. The quiet recruit had become their commander, the anchor in the storm, and now the real test was about to begin. The briefing was terse and urgent. Intelligence spoke of an enemy presence deep within hostile territory, a mission that demanded stealth precision and absolute trust in their leader's judgment. Sarah moved among them. Her steps measured her gaze, steady. Her mind raced through every detail, every possible outcome. She knew the weight of expectation pressed down on her shoulders heavier than any armor. She briefed her team with clarity and conviction, each word a thread weaving them tighter into a unified force. The recruits who had once doubted now hung on her every instruction, ready to follow her into the unknown. Theirs was a bond forged not just in training, but in the revelation of truth and the shared burden of what lay ahead. They advanced into the dense wilderness. The terrain closed in around them, shadows shifting like living things. Their senses heightened, every sound, every movement carried potential danger. Sarah led with a calm intensity, her instincts honed by years of combat guiding them through the maze of trees and underbrush. The team moved silently, communicating in gestures and whispered commands, a dance of survival and strategy. The tension was a living pulse that threaded through their veins each step, a test of their resolve. Suddenly the stillness shattered. The crack of gunfire echoed sharp and close. The enemy had found them. A deadly game of cat and mouse erupted amidst the chaos, bullets tearing through leaves and earth. The recruits scattered, taking cover, their training tested to its limits, but Sarah's voice rose above the din, steady and commanding, directing their movements with unerring precision. She was everywhere at once, a guardian and a warrior, weaving through the firefight. With lethal grace, the battle pressed on, relentless and brutal. The team faced overwhelming odds, but their trust in Sarah held firm. Each soldier drew strength from her unwavering presence, her courage a beacon in the dark. The enemy advanced, but the team's resolve did not waver. Every shot fired, every breath taken was a testament to their unity, and to the leader who had earned their respect through fire and truth. Amidst the fury, Sarah spotted a key target, a figure whose capture could turn the tide. The moment demanded split-second decision and flawless execution. Her hand steadied, her breath controlled. She took the shot, a silent bullet slicing through the chaos and finding its mark. The impact was decisive. The enemy faltered and the team surged forward, reclaiming the ground inch by bloody inch. When the dust settled, the battlefield was scarred, but victory belonged to the team. Sarah's leadership had been the difference, the force that transformed fear into strength. The recruits who had once mocked her now stood united beneath her banner, their doubts replaced by a fierce pride. The mission was won, but the true journey had only just begun. The scars they bore were not just physical, but the marks of a trust forged in the crucible of combat back at camp. The soldiers gathered around the fading light, their faces etched with exhaustion and resolve. Sarah addressed them, her voice steady and filled with the weight of shared sacrifice. She spoke of honor, duty, and the price of leadership, reminding them that the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty. But she also spoke of hope, of the strength found in unity and the unbreakable bonds they had forged together. As night fell, the camp settled into a quiet vigilance, the air thick with anticipation. The recruits no longer saw Sarah as just a commander, but as a symbol of resilience and courage. Their respect had transformed into loyalty and something deeper, a belief that together they could face whatever darkness lay ahead. But in the shadows beyond the camp, a new threat stirred, unseen and unrelenting, waiting for the right moment to strike, and as the stars blinked cold and distant over the silent earth, Sarah's mind raced ahead to the battles yet to come, knowing that the fight for survival was far from over. The team had grown stronger, but so had the dangers lurking in the night. The question that haunted her remained: would they be ready when the true enemy revealed itself, and the ultimate test of their loyalty and courage arrived? The night was thick with silence as the camp lay under a blanket of darkness, only the faint rustle of leaves and distant calls of nocturnal creatures breaking the stillness. Sarah stood watch at the perimeter, her eyes scanning the shadows, every sense alert to the slightest movement. The weight of command settled heavy on her shoulders, but she bore it with the quiet strength that had earned her the respect of her team. The recruits, now warriors beside her, waited in tense anticipation, aware that the calm was only a fragile veil over the storm that approached. Hours passed in a tense vigil. Then suddenly, the night exploded with the crack of gunfire piercing the darkness. The enemy had chosen this moment to strike a swift and brutal assault, designed to test the mettle of the newly forged unit. Chaos erupted as soldiers scrambled to their positions. Bullets whistled past and shouts cut through the night. Sarah moved like a force of nature, her commands crisp and clear, rallying her team into a cohesive shield against the onslaught. The recruits who had once doubted her now fought with the fierce loyalty of soldiers who had seen their leader walk through fire and emerge unbroken. The battle raged intense and unrelenting, every corner of the camp contested ground. Each moment brought new dangers and unexpected twists. Sarah's mind raced, calculating the best moves, her instincts guiding her. Through the chaos, her presence was a beacon of calm and control, inspiring those around her to push beyond their limits. The enemy was cunning, ruthless, but the team's determination was fiercer, their unity a wall that refused to crumble amidst the firefight. Sarah spotted a breach in the defenses, a critical weak point that, if exploited, could spell disaster. With no hesitation, she led a small group through the gunfire, their movements swift and silent like shadows in the night. Their objective, clear: to seal the breach and turn the tide of battle. The path was perilous, and every step brought them closer to danger. But Sarah's unwavering resolve drove them forward, her leadership a lifeline in the storm. They reached the breach just as the enemy surged through the gap. A fierce close-quarters fight erupted. Steel clashed and bullets flew, the air thick with the roar of combat. Sarah fought with the precision and fury of a seasoned warrior, every move calculated, every strike deadly. Her team followed her lead, matching her strength and determination, pushing back the attackers inch by bloody inch. The outcome hung in the balance, on the edge of a knife. After what felt like an eternity, the breach was sealed. The enemy repelled. The camp held firm, but the cost was high, wounds and exhaustion etched on every face. The soldiers gathered around Sarah, their breaths heavy, their eyes filled with a mixture of relief and respect. They saw not just a commander, but a protector, leader who had stood with them in the darkest hour and refused to yield as dawn broke over the battered camp. Sarah addressed her team, her voice steady yet filled with the gravity of their ordeal. She spoke of sacrifice and honor, of the bonds forged in battle and the road still ahead. Her words ignited a renewed sense of purpose, the team united in their resolve to face whatever challenges the future held. But beyond the horizon, a shadow moved unseen, a threat that would test them in ways they could never imagine. In the quiet moments that followed, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them here, the trials, the betrayals, and the unexpected revelations. She understood now more than ever that leadership was not about rank or recognition, but about courage in the face of fear and the willingness to stand when others faltered. The recruits who had mocked her had become warriors inspired by the woman who had never shown weakness. The camp stirred to life as preparations began. For the next mission, the stakes higher and the dangers more real. The team knew that their greatest challenges were still to come, and that the true battle was yet to be fought. Sarah's gaze hardened as she looked to the future, aware that every decision could mean life or death for those who followed her. But she was ready, her resolve unshaken, her spirit unbroken, ready to lead her team through whatever darkness awaited. And as the sun climbed higher, the promise of a new day brought hope, and the unspoken question lingered. Would they be able to stand united when the ultimate test arrived and the true enemy revealed itself in all its terrifying power? The morning sun rose over the camp, casting long shadows across the worn earth. The team, gathered silently, their faces marked by exhaustion, determination, and the scars of battle. Sarah stood before them, no longer the quiet recruit, but the leader they had come to trust her presence, commanding, yet calm. The air was thick with anticipation for the mission that would define them all. The briefing was short and direct, the enemy stronger and more cunning than ever before. They would have to move fast, strike hard, and trust each other completely as they advanced through hostile territory. Every step was heavy with danger. The forest around them seemed alive, watching, waiting for the moment to strike. Sarah's eyes scanned the horizon, sharp and unyielding. Her commands were precise, guiding her team through the unforgiving landscape. Each soldier moved with purpose, their trust in her growing with every breath. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing, the enemy close and ruthless. Suddenly, the silence shattered with the roar of gunfire and the crack of explosives. The ambush was brutal and swift. The team scattered, taking cover, their training tested to the extreme. Bullets tore through the air, and the ground shook with the force of explosions. Sarah was everywhere, directing counterattacks, rallying her soldiers with fierce determination. Her presence was a lifeline, pulling them back from the edge of chaos. The firefight escalated, relentless and unforgiving. Each second stretched into an eternity with lives hanging in the balance. The team fought with everything. They had every move, a dance of survival. The enemy pressed harder, but the soldiers held their ground, their unity unbreakable, their leader's voice cut through the storm, steady and commanding, a beacon in the darkness. Amidst the chaos, Sarah spotted their target, a high-value enemy operative whose capture would cripple the opposition. The moment demanded speed and precision. She led a small team through the hail of bullets, their path treacherous and fraught with peril. Her heart pounded, but her hand was steady. The shot rang out, a silent whisper that changed the course of the battle. The enemy faltered, confusion spreading through their ranks. The team surged forward, seizing the advantage, pushing the attackers back inch by inch. Victory was within reach, but the cost was clear. The soldiers bore the marks of war wounds, deep and spirits tested. Yet their resolve was unbroken, their trust in Sarah absolute. As the dust settled and the battlefield grew quiet, Sarah gathered her team, her voice steady and filled with pride. She spoke of sacrifice, courage, and the unyielding strength found in unity. Their journey had transformed them from recruits to warriors, bonded by fire and truth. But she knew this was only the beginning. New threats loomed on the horizon, challenges that would test them in ways they could never imagine. The recruits turned warriors looked to their commander with respect and unwavering loyalty. The woman they had once underestimated had proven herself time and again a leader forged in the crucible of battle. Theirs was a bond unbreakable, a team ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead, and as they prepared to move forward into the uncertain future, Sarah's mind was clear, her resolve fierce.